All right, so I wanted to touch on a couple of things that was said in the tag video first before we move on to UC Next Steps. So that was obviously recorded in the fall. But it's all the same. There's nothing I could say besides what I'm going to say right now that would be different. The tag criteria is updated throughout the summer, so I don't have any new information to give you regarding the tag. What I can tell you is typically if there is a major change to any tag criteria, we are given some leeway. Like when UC Davis upped their GPA requirement for engineering students, we were informed 2 or 3 years in advance. So I'm not anticipating any major changes to the tag for students who will be tagging in fall of 24 for fall of 25. But just know when you look at the website, what's up there is what was the tag criteria for students who tagged for fall of 24. We begin to get tag criteria usually in May, and then it kind of just trickles in from each campus from there. So Davis and Santa Cruz, again, are the ones that have the most majors that have to be updated. And so sometimes they take a little bit longer, but the other campuses are typically pretty quick in making the brief changes that they have. Okay. All right. So I am updating this one because I was pretty specific for the fall students in that video that I did last year. So I rewatch these, make sure everything is still correct. And if I need to update the video, I do. All right, so let's go ahead and go into the UC Next Steps here. So let me move this a little bit. All right, so when you apply to the UC, why this wants to be so small. UCs typically, again, are only admitting upper division transfer students. There are those few exceptions to specific majors, like UC Davis's animal science, I think, will admit a lower division transfer student. Santa Cruz is getting a little bit more friendly about it. So it just varies from school to school and from major to major. So as I already said in the previous video, it's not that it's impossible, but it's not as common. So if you are going to be a fall transfer student, the application will open on August the 1st, and then you have to submit it between October 1st and November 30th. If you have a UC TAP account, which I would highly recommend that you do that if you're UC bound, I've already said that once or twice here. So that TAP account will pull over all the coursework that you have entered into it into the application, so you don't have to sit there and do it again. And so when you do a TAP account, you enter all your past coursework. You also can enter what you're currently in, what you plan to take. And so then it can bring it all over so you don't have to do it again when you're in the midst of the application. If you plan to be a mid-year transfer student, it varies each year again as far as who is open. So what they do is they admit their freshman class and then they determine if they can accept mid-year transfer. So for the past few years, it's been Merced, Santa Cruz, and Riverside who have been open for mid-year transfers. And these applications are due between July 1st and July 30th. And the criteria can be higher than regular, not regular, but for fall students. So I've been told by UC Santa Cruz that their GPA thresholds are a little bit higher than what they are for fall students, and not every major is open, okay? And then the UC application is actually a little bit easier to use, in my opinion. Let's see where this is gonna take us. It's just a little bit more intuitive. It's the same as the CSU application where you're entering every single class you've ever taken. You are, let me pull this over so you can see it. It's also really intuitive where if you repeat a course, it recognizes it. So you put the course in once, you put it in a second time, and it will say, was this a repeat from when you took it in, fall of 22? And you say yes. So this is the page where you can get the application. Just like with the CSU, it's one application for all 9 schools. Okay. So, all right. And then as part of the application, you have to answer 4 insight questions. And so let's take a look at this. So on the Transfer Center website, if you go down here to this yellow button and click there, you can see information about PIQs. And so here's the personal insight questions. You can preview the questions, you can get help from the Transfer Center, and you can get tips. So let's just talk about the help from the Transfer Center. It's not too early to start working on these short questions because they're going to be the same. They're not changing. They changed them probably 6, 7 years ago. And again, they gave us several years notice. We're working on the PIQs. We're updating the PIQs, that type of thing. Okay. So these were support sessions that we had. These are brainstorms. If you are going to be applying for fall of 25, you might want to consider participating in our boot camp. My colleague Robin will do a PIQ brainstorm as part of the boot camp, which runs the month of July through Zoom. And there's information on the Transfer Center website about that now. So you can see these were the brainstorm sessions. Then what you can do, I believe this will remain the same for fall of 24, is you can submit your draft and then you get an appointment with somebody in the Transfer Center to go over those drafts with you. Okay. So, but let's go back and look at the actual questions. So there's one mandatory question that transfer students have to answer. And let's see, here it is. And so that's going to be answered no matter what. Pull this down a little bit. And so that question is, please describe how you've prepared for your intended major, including your readiness to succeed in your upper division courses once you're enrolled at the university. They do not want you to tell them, I took the following courses. Okay, that's not what that is about. And we're going to have an assignment around this, so I'll give you more information, as we get there. Then you will answer 3 out of 7 additional questions. So the first one is about your leadership experience, your creative side, what's your greatest talent or skill, how have you taken advantage of a significant educational opportunity or worked to overcome a barrier, what's your most significant challenge you faced, and the steps you've taken to overcome it. If you haven't gone there yet, then don't write about that one. 6 is what have you done to make your school or community a better place? And 7 is beyond what you've already shared. What do you believe makes you a strong candidate for the UC? So you would answer 3 of those. And so a lot of times students will get started and then they're like, this one's not going well. I don't think I should do this one. I'm like, yeah, don't do that one. Let's pick another one. So sometimes it just, takes a little bit of time to brainstorm and to write these and that type of thing. Okay. So it's not too early to get going on these PIQs. All right, I already talked about we're going to report all your grades. And then if you're a fall applicant, you are going to update your application just like you do for the CSU in the month of January. You go back in, you report what your grades were for your fall classes, and if you've made any changes to your spring coursework. Let me get back so I can change the page here. Okay. The cost of attending a UC. This is sticker shock, right? I mean, it's expensive. The tuition and fees for the year are $14,436 when you are a full-time student. The expectation is you will be a full-time student. They don't allow for part-time enrollment unless it's your last term and you don't have a full load of courses that you need to take. So if you have been a part-time student at SRJC, you work full-time and you're wanting to do that same at the UC, they don't allow it. You have to go full-time, okay? The expectation of the UC is that the UC will cover 1/3 of the cost, the family will cover 1/3 of the cost, and the student will cover 1/3 of the cost. So that's how they kind of see things. They have pretty robust financial aid opportunities as well as scholarships. So if you receive financial aid from the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act, and it doesn't cover the full cost of your of your tuition at the UC, and your family makes $80,000 or less, then they will cover the remainder of your tuition fees, not your housing, but your tuition. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then this is their estimated cost for living on campus and then living off campus, including your tuition and fees. And then this is going to be, so it's room and board, it's textbooks, it's transportation, it's kind of all, lumped in there. And then the tuition, this is on, within our page on Canvas. So let me pull that page over. It looks like this, okay? And so you can do more research on the tuition and cost of attendance at a UC. They have some videos here that you could watch. Here's how they broke it down, okay? So here's the direct costs and then the indirect costs and where I got those figures from. All right. Okay, let me move that. Go back here, kind of all over the place here. All right, so the last thing is, again, taking those tours. Visit the campuses that you're interested in attending. Take a road trip. Go visit some CSUs and UCs as you're, going wherever you're going. Stop at colleges and do a tour and see what it's like. Walk around campus. So you can set up a tour through the outreach office. You can ask if it's possible to sit in a class. If it's not, at least visit the department for your major that you're interested in. See if there's any special events to attend. So in the month of April, usually there are open house events. So like Davis has picnic days and Fresno State has bulldog days and things like that. And so you can go to those. And then try to go during the week, as I said, with CSUs instead of on a weekend because it's kind of dead. And then again, you will be doing virtual tours as part of this class. Okay, so if you have any questions about the UC in general, let me know, and I hope you have a great week.